This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Warning, the following broadcast contains adult language, adult content, frank safety discussions, and stories that might sound unbelievable. But believe me, every one of those stories is true. We didn't start the safety war, but we are going to fight to win it. For our families, for our communities, for our workplaces, and for our lives. Hi, I did not get a podcast out last week. One of these weeks, years, what have you, I'm going to have a lot to talk about because of what happened over the last week or so with one of my projects and in my life. Needless to say, when it rains, it pours, either with prosperity or with other stuff, negativity. So what are we talking about? Today on Safety Words, 5 reasons to work safe today, and shame and blame. Last week, one of my clients had a health and safety meeting on the 5 reasons to work safe today. Now, we're all on our HOP journey, as we say here on Safety FM, and a lot of the other programs with Todd Conklin, Jay Allen, Sam Goodman. We all start out on this HOP course. 5 years ago, or even 3 or 2 years ago, I probably would have had a different take on this, where we deal with all this stuff. Well, we're going to blame the employee for everything. One of the issues I've had over the last week is a employer trying to trust the employee to do everything and not giving the employee all of the resources necessary to do the job. And then, oh, well, it's the employee's fault. Well, not really, because you didn't give them all the resources that you needed to give them, like proper fall protection equipment being one of them. So one of my employees is on a project. We're with a new client, and we've had to use their safety talks. By the way, we sell safety talks. You want us to hold your safety meeting? We can do it remotely. No problem here. Just drop us a line. Jim@safetywars.com. Long story short, we had to present these 5 things. And he said, Jimmy, I really don't feel comfortable doing this anymore after all we've learned over the last couple of years about HOP. So, 5 reasons to work safe today. And I'll preface this as saying maybe it's the 5 reasons, 5 things to blame the employee for. There you go. Here we go. We all have different reasons for why we choose to do certain things and why we may not choose to do others. When it comes to working safely, we should all want to choose to make the right decision. We all are different in the way we think, but there are many common reasons why we choose to work safe. No matter what your motivator may be, keep these 5 reasons in mind as to why we should all strive to work safe. All right, so that sounds okay. But the thing is, and the more I think about it, and I've been hearing different points of view here, we're all familiar with it. Nobody comes to work wanting to get hurt. First of all, I have a couple of stories where that's not true. Where people, there's this one guy who didn't like his job assignment, so he took a ball-peen hammer and broke his own hand. True story. So he got out of work. Stuff like that. But there's also a corollary here. Nobody wants to come to work hurt, but nobody wants to make their job harder. And the safety stuff, let's face it, some of it, people don't see the long-term system approach, the benefit, nothing like that. No, it's about creating part of safety. Safety is a lot of things. Part of safety is getting into good habits, getting into a system. People say, well, we do safety. Well, I don't know about doing safety. No, that means that it's not part of the job. Safety is part of your job, part of what we do and everything. It's all incorporated into things. But here are the 5 things. Your health. Obviously, your health and well-being should be the biggest motivator as to why you should choose to work safe. Once we lose our health or impacted severely, it may never be the same. It is important to really think about how a severe injury would change the rest of your life. Okay, great. Well, again, I don't think workers come in and say, well, I'm going to get hurt. Not usually, at least. Number 2, providing for your family. Your family depends on your ability to earn an income. When you are injured or ill, you can lose that ability very quickly. Right? Your reputation, while productive employees are still very much rewarded at many companies, working safely is often recognized right along with production. Your reputation at work not only affects you, it goes on and on and on. 4, your coworkers. Making a choice to take a shortcut can not only harm yourself, but can harm a fellow worker. Your company as a whole. Whether you love the company you work for or not, the job they provide pays your bills. So this all sounds like a takeoff on the try harder type of thing. I can tell you what, maybe if we change these around a little bit, we can see where we're going here, where we need to go, where we need to be. Your employees' health. Providing for your employees' family. Your reputation as a company or organization. Your employees. Encouraging them to do the right thing. Giving them incentives. Your company as a whole. Being good for the company. Limiting company liabilities. And also, what's your biggest resource at your company? Your employee. It's not the employer. It's not the CEO. It's your employee. Richard Branson always says, treat your employee right, and they're going to take care of you. Real simple. Maybe not in those words, but that's basically it. I think if companies adopted maybe the 5 things and applied it to themselves, I'll take off on physician, heal thyself, perhaps things will work out a little bit better in the safety realm and the productivity realm and everything else. Because what I'm seeing at a lot of companies, especially if they are publicly owned or very large companies, the managers just use it as a stepping stone. The decisions that they make, they're going to be out of there in 4 or 5 years. The decisions they make are going to impact the company 6, 7, or 8 years later or after they're gone. And they make guverno decisions, right, and questionable decisions. So rather than blame the employee and say, hey, you got to work harder, you got to worry about these 5 things to work safe, right? You know, these are the 5 reasons you need to work safe today. Maybe you should go and turn the mirror on yourself. If you're a safety manager and you're saying, hey, these employees I'm supervising have to just try harder, that's how we're going to get to this so-called safety utopia, well, guess what? You're not going to be successful. You're putting your reliance on things that are not going to be successful. That's your employee. Employees have error rates. As Sam Goodman said this week, and I got to give him a shout out on this one, he had a very good point. His point was, a scrape will never kill you. A scrape on the knee will never kill you. Apply it to the house. We have children. I have 2 kids of my own. They get a boo-boo. Okay, guess what? They get a boo-boo. We don't say we have an unsafe house because we're going to have a boo-boo. We had a boo-boo. We're going to go and we're going to, the house is on a trend to having a catastrophic incident over a scraped knee. Well, guess what? That's how a lot of organizations operate, isn't it? Sam had a great point there. He's on the HOP Nerd, H-O-P Nerd. Right? Check him out. He's really good. And, of course, Don Conklin. Anyway, that's what my message is today. You're not going to win the safety war, however we define this safety war that I always talk about and we always think about here. Blaming people. Blaming the employee. Blaming this guy, blaming that girl, blaming this, blaming that. It ain't going to work. All right? So, look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? How can I work with my coworkers? How can I work within my organization to make it a safer place? What can I do? Rather than blaming people. For Safety Wars, this is Jim Posel. Is your safety training old, stale, and hackneyed? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.